Welcome to the latest episode of Trojans Wired, the podcast, which is an in-house production of the website Trojans Wire. We are part of the College Wire Network. It was an emotional day in the Galen Center, a tribute to the great seniors who have done so much for this USC program, the incoming transfers, but especially Rhea Marshall, Clarice Okunwafo, who stayed loyal to the vision that Lindsay Gottlieb had for this program, and on their shoulders was built this resurgence, this resurrection of USC women's basketball. So a very special day, and our USC women's basketball analyst, Cece Clay, was there. She's going to tell us about that senior day experience in just a little bit. But another game did steal the show, and it did claim the headlines rightly on the women's basketball Sunday that was. North Carolina State taking down number one Notre Dame in a double overtime classic. CC, before we came on the air, told me a little story about Avery Howell before the USC Illinois game. You can share that with us just to kind of emphasize how much that Notre Dame NC State game caught everyone's attention on Sunday.
Yeah, I think all the USC players were in the athletic area in the back watching the game, and I walk in and Avery Howell's on the court talking to some people about what's going on in the first half. And here I have my phone and I'm walking in the gym watching the game. And so I go up to Avery and I'm like, Avery, I got the game on right here. She's like, oh, we need NC State to win. I'm like, yeah, we do. And I'm like, you guys want to watch the game? It was like 2 minutes left. And so we sat there and we all watched the game. And then Avery went and warmed up. But it just, it just tells you how much everybody was into that game and the importance of that game, to the standings and everything else that's going on with women's basketball right now. And what's interesting is North Carolina State, they haven't lost in that gym to an AP top 10 team yet. They've beaten everybody that has come in there. So it's like, I knew it was they get up for those games. Home field advantage or home gym advantage really means something, and it once again proved how important playing at home is because they ended up, taking the belt to the butt in that second overtime.
And it's a great reminder that, in the women's NCAA tournament, you get those home games on that first weekend if you're a top four seed. So USC is obviously going to get that again this season. And that also underscores, and this is our segue into senior day, it's not the last game at Galen Center this season. It was the last regular season game.
Yeah.
But there's going to be at least one and very likely two at Galen a month from now. All right, so Cece, you were there for senior day, just a very special day. Process the emotions, process all the feelings that you felt and that you saw and sensed and absorbed in the building on a very special day for USC women's basketball.
Yeah, before the game, I got to speak with Rhea a little bit when she came out for warm-ups, congratulate her and so on and so forth. And then in the post-game press conference, I did ask her, what it meant to be from LA and stay at SC. And I think, I got emotional because at the end, I don't know if you know this, but they do it differently so that, in the beginning, before the game, they come out with their parents and so on and so forth pregame. And then afterwards at SC, they have a podium put up like a real stage, puts up like you're graduating, and Lindsay, they have a video that plays about each player. And then after that video plays, Lindsay gets up and says this speech, and all of them were heartwarming. And, you just, when you're attached to players, it hits different. And Rhea and Clarice being loyal to SC and both of them being from LA, Clarice being from Inglewood and Rhea being from Linwood, it just hits different. You have people in the stands saying Linwood is proud of you, Inglewood is proud of you, and clapping when they showed a picture of Clarice in her, medical gear. And so and Lindsay, of course, got choked up when she was talking about the seniors because Lindsay is a crier anyway. So she got choked up. So it just makes everybody get choked up, and but it was it was a really cool experience. The other players were all sitting on the bench watching and there's still a lot more season to go, but knowing that was their last regular season home game at Galen is like, wow, Rhea and Clarice are really not going to be here next year. And, when you see players that are there for 4 years, it really hits different. And then TVO and Kiki and Dom, it was emotional too because, Lindsay talked about TVO having struggles since she's been here, but how she's been able to still become, be a leader that she is. And the other thing I want to mention is that Lindsay talked about Rhea, like, and nobody knew this. I didn't know this. There was a medical emergency, or Lindsay had got some bad news when she was pregnant with Reese. From what the story she was saying, she got some bad news when she was pregnant with Reese, and she went to work that day, and she just wasn't in the best of spirits. And Rhea saw that and felt that, and later on that evening, Rhea sent Lindsay a text, a heartfelt text saying, I'm going to pray for you and blah 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 blah. And she said then she had Reese a couple of months later, and she feels that Rhea was a significant part of why they got through the medical issue, whatever it was, and Rhea was born. And that's why Rhea and Reese are so connected and close. And I was like, wow, for her to share something like that, yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, it's just heartfelt. So it was it was really cool, you know.
Yeah,
So
I mean, a certain degree of sentimentality, but this is a real bond. This is a real connection. It's going to be a lifelong connection for coach and player. I mean, we can sentimentalize it, but no, like this is real. It goes deep, and it's gonna last and go far beyond the basketball court. So,
what else it reminds me? It reminds me that people often forget that coaches and players are human. Period, point blank, they're human. They have feelings. They go through a lot together. They go through bad times, they go through good times. They have feelings, they get hurt, they get happy. They are human. And remember, I told you in this world that they have to be superhuman. So when you see, coaches provide another side of themselves, you're reminded that she is got the same blood running through her veins like you and I. She's human, and I just think that we need to all, take a step back and really remember that about coaches in general or people in high profile positions that work with people and that care with people and that mentor people. They're human, So um I'm okay, I'm gonna get off my emotional rant here.
not even an emotional rant, like a beautiful, heartfelt tribute. And I would also add, CC, and for everyone listening here on the Trojans Wired podcast, that, coaches and players exist. I mean, our relationship, CC, is not the same as coach and player, but what the connection is, it's a transactional relationship. You come on my podcast, I promote your YouTube channel and your Substack, more about that later in the show. And for a coach and a player, like, the coach is paid to win games and the coaches need players such as Ray Marshall to not transfer out. And like that
Yeah,
was a significant moment in Lindsey Gottlieb's career in the life of USC basketball. So these are transactional relationships, and the fans want wins, Final Fours, championships. Coaches need players to make that happen. And so it's easy to just focus on that transactional, economic, cost benefit nature of a relationship. And senior day really has a way of saying, you know what, that transactional stuff, winning games, championships, of course it matters. That's why we're all here. We're competing. But also there's life beyond basketball, like
yeah,
we're all trying to do our best in an industry, in a cutthroat profession, but like the other stuff matters too, right? That,
yeah,
how you are as a person, how you're feeling, how you're doing day to day, like
yeah,
that also matters. So like we're not trying to say the basketball doesn't matter. We're not trying to
yeah.
pretend it doesn't, because it does significantly.
But it's
But
bigger than
there's
basketball.
also the stuff of life itself. It's both
Yeah,
in.
it's bigger than basketball at the end of the day. I mean, what's even more interesting is, I learn more about Coach G every time she speaks. And the one thing that she said, now I remembered this, but I was reminded I didn't remember this part. Her number one priority was to keep Rhea when she got the job, her first phone call was to Rhea. That has been discussed before. But what wasn't discussed was what Rhea said. I don't know if she said this in post game, I don't remember. But she said, oh, she did. She said that Lindsay pulled her and Clarice to the side, when she got there. And she said, I know we're on the bottom now, but by the time you're a senior, this is going to be a top 5 program. And it's like, oh my God. You know what I mean? And I mean, I understand that she got Jew and all that kind of stuff but still, I mean, for her to tell that to Rhea and Clarice, within 4 years, we're going to be a top 5 program. And for Clarice and Rhea to buy in, although Rhea said that she looked at Clarice and said, is Lindsay okay? You know what I mean? But it just goes to show you how much Lindsay believes in herself and what she feels that she's capable of, no matter what anybody else is saying. She believes in herself. You know what I mean? And that's huge for college players to have a coach that can say something like that and then go out and do it. Before Rhea was a senior, because last year I think they were ranked in the top 5 when it was all said and done. So before Rhea got to her senior year, she got them that goal that she promised them. So I mean, again, just we all need to take a breath and just look at the work and look at the person that Lindsay is and look at the job that she's done with Rhea and Clarice, who are better people. Because I mean, Rhea and Clarice are Inglewood and Linwood. I mean, it's Inglewood and Linwood. So if you know anything about LA, it's Inglewood and Linwood. So for those two to come to SC and prosper like they're doing says so much about the work, not only that Lindsay does, but all the coaches and all the people around these two players. So, it's just unbelievable that they stayed the whole 4 years in today's world. And I just hope that it sets a precedence that, more players need to stay, with their program and just let it flow the way it's supposed to flow.
Yeah, I mean, imagine just trusting Lindsey Gottlieb before even that 2023 NCAA tournament season. USC
They
was,
were bad.
yes, USC was legitimately bad. Yeah, not even
Yeah.
average, but bad. And so, to a certain extent, it wasn't so much. I mean, partly it was, oh, okay, let's try to be a top 5 program by the time we're done. But it was more, I would think, CC, and you can tell me, how right or wrong I am, but it's just, oh, Coach G is serious. Like she means it. Like she's
Yeah.
in here to do the heavy lifting. And maybe we don't get there, but darn it, we're gonna try. We're gonna try really hard and give it a go. Just that sense of aspiration,
Yeah.
aiming big, going big. That had
Yeah.
to be part of what kept Rhea and Clarice at USC.
Yeah. And if you knew Rhea when she was a freshman and Clarice, and you followed her like I did from her freshman year to her senior year, just the way she communicates is different. Just the way she handles herself is different. Just the way she talks to people and communicates and is extroverted is different than when she was a freshman. I mean, she has come such a long way. I mean, I have so much respect for Rhea and for Clarice, who always said that being a doctor was a priority, but still comes and gives her all every day on the basketball court. And then, all of them, Kiki, the things that she said about Dom, Dom being a leader, and she continues to get herself ready for her next adventure in basketball, whatever, or venture in basketball. I'm assuming that she's going to transfer and go someplace else as a graduate student and play, but she continues to be all in for this team as a leader the way she's supposed to. And she's respected by everybody on that team. And then TVO too, like I said, she talked about TVO's struggles this year, and then Kiki too, coming from Stanford and trying to fit into this program. It's pretty amazing when you listen to Coach G talk, because it puts things in perspective that with all these young kids, they're 18, 19, 20, what they go through mentally to get themselves to a place where they feel confident about what they're doing, where they're going, how they're going to be acting, and so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, they're just kids.
I'm glad we devoted extra time to senior day and to pay tribute to these really special young women and to the coach and the staff that has brought them together and been on a great journey together as a group, as an extended family, or not just this season, but over the past few years at USC. I'm glad we really, fleshed out our appreciation for the people who have made USC women's basketball so good and so fun and enjoyable to watch these past few years. All right, so let's now go to the Illinois game. So obviously, dealing with emotions, and you mentioned how they do the longer, fuller senior day tribute after, not
Yeah,
before the game. So like, you
right.
better win. It's like we don't
Yeah,
want to drag you
yeah.
through a post-game ceremony after a loss. So maybe kind of a
Last year they lost.
subtle motivational component there. Like, let's have a happy
Yeah,
ceremony.
yeah.
And so it was a happy ceremony because they did get it done. I'm going to ask you for your top line observations as always. And I would just kind of set the table for you by saying, wow, what a great offensive first quarter. What
Yeah.
was part of that quarter that you think USC can retain? Because, like, we know the defense is going to be there. Obviously, the defense struggled in the first half, but it got back to normal, the typical USC standard in the second half. They put the clamps down after halftime. But really, man, if USC can bottle up whatever it had in that first quarter, 26 points, if USC plays anywhere close to those 10 minutes on offense in March Madness, this is going to be a very tough out in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. I thought even though they played with two bigs, because I always talk about the four guard, one big lineup. And then for this game too, they played mostly three guards, two bigs, mostly the entire game, whether it was Clarice or Rhea subbing in and Kiki. But um their spacing was really good. And that they were getting it to Kiki. You know what I mean? I think the difference in this game and the previous game has been Kiki. Kiki looks like she's playing with confidence. Kiki looks like she just said, you know what? It is what it is. I'm just going to go out here and play my game and not let any other distractions affect what I'm doing. And that's just what she's done. I mean, she was aggressive with the ball. She was aggressive with her offensive movements. She was aggressive on defense. She got two blocks. Kiki's not known as a blocker. She got two blocks. In that first quarter, they were really good. Their offensive rating was 155.1. So that's how many points per 100 possessions. It was 155.1. But their defensive rating sucked. It was 131.3. It was 11, which is one of the lowest percentiles you can have in NCAA across the board. So it balanced out, and I think they were just hyped. You know what I mean? They were hyped. They were excited. And even after the game, in Juju's post game interview, the commentator was talking about how good the defense was, and Juju came out and said, no, I think we could have been better." And Beth Burns, our defensive coach, is going to let us know that.
Yeah.
So if if they can play up to the standard of the defense that we know they can play, it's going to be hard for teams in March because Illinois was struggling getting that ball across the court when they put on that press.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about why the first quarter on offense was so good, and then of course the defense, which hit its stride in the second half, not great in the first half. Any particular elements of concern from that first quarter performance, knowing that for USC to play a 26-22 quarter is just it's crazy. But any
Yeah.
particular points of concern you think need to be focused on from that defensive first quarter when Illinois was able to pretty much do what it wanted at the offensive end?
I think that their offensive rebounding has got to get better. They still got to remember to block out off on offensive rebounds and defensive rebounds. Their offensive rebound percentage was a 20%, which is below the NCAA average. And again, Illinois had some height, but they weren't athletic or lengthy like us. So I just think that we still should be getting better with our offensive rebounds. And then our pace of play wasn't really as fast as we normally play. That was also in the red to a lot of people's surprise. It looked like we were running, but according to the analytics, the first and the second quarter, we were in the red as far as pace of play compared to what we normally do. So those two things aren't concerning, just kind of like, how are they going to handle it in March Madness when teams, slow down our pace? Are we going to be able to pass the ball around like we effectively did against Illinois? Because there are going to be teams that try and slow us down because they feel like that's the only way to beat us. And if we do what we did against Illinois and like I said, pass the ball around, we got 20 assists. So that tells you that we were passing the ball. But yeah, I just keep talking because I love analytics, but it's all good.
Yeah, one thing you mentioned was that Illinois did not have a lot of depth. And so when we kind of factor that into USC's performance, and we evaluate that, the teams that USC is likely to face in March are going to have more depth
Yep.
against Illinois than Illinois. So like that would seem to kind of downgrade this performance for USC on a larger contextual level. And we're not trying to rain on anyone's parade. We're just trying to raise some valid concerns before March when, USC is going to face deeper teams and might encounter some matchup problems. And of course, the coaching staff has to have USC ready for that. How much do you think Illinois' lack of depth factored in this game and what USC was able to achieve on defense in the second half?
Yeah, I think it did because they had to have gotten fatigued, But again, they're used to it too. They had some speedy guards. Their guard play was really good. Um, I think Kennedy Smith getting in foul trouble really kind of affected the way we played defense. So because she's our defensive stopper, so whenever she's on the bench for a longer period of time than normal, it kind of affects what we do on defense. And she didn't play a lot of that fourth quarter because she was in foul trouble. But again, the depth the thing is we have depth now and they don't. So when we play other teams with depth, our bench has got to be able to get ready to come and play. And again, I will mention Avery Howell. She didn't take that many shots. I think she hit one shot yesterday. We have to get her to open spots. I mean, we just have to. Although we pass the ball around a lot, we have to get her. We have to run plays for her. We have to either screen back door or screen on the back side of the court to get her open wing shots. But we got to get her open shots.
All right. We are going to be doing later this week a standalone episode on USC UCLA Part 2, the rematch. Pauley Pavilion, Saturday night, March 1st. Winner takes the outright Big Ten championship, almost certainly. I mean, UCLA is not going to lose to Wisconsin, or at least we don't think so. So once the Bruins do beat Wisconsin on Wednesday, USC UCLA becomes a battle for the outright title. Nothing split, nothing shared. If if UCLA had lost to Iowa, USC would have clinched a share of the title. That did not happen. So we'll do a standalone show later this week, but we gotta at least throw out a few breadcrumbs. CC, what are your initial keys, observations, plot points, whatever you have on UCLA Part 2?
It's interesting because the last two teams that we played, they didn't throw doubles at Jew. And, neither did UCLA. Wait, UCLA, who do we play? UCLA, Washington. So UCLA, Washington, and
Michigan
Illinois,
State.
Michigan State, they haven't really thrown doubles. They've thrown out high hedges, you know what I mean? And to make it seem like they were doubling you, but nobody has really outright doubled you. So I'm interested to see if UCLA changes up their defense because Juju ate them up and they throw a double at Juju, or they'll say, you know what, we're just going to continue to do what we're going to do, but we're going to be better at defense Saturday than we were previously. Or if because I think now if they double Juju, and you got Clarice in the game, and Kiki's firing like she has been firing, it's going to be hard for UCLA. I mean, you got to remember in that first game with UCLA, we weren't hitting our outside shots. So we needed Juju to hit those 38, and luckily she was hot and she was able to get them. But if we go into Poly, and our surrounding cast is just half as hot as they were not in that first game with UCLA, UCLA is going to be in trouble, I think. Now it's at Poly Pavilion, so that's a whole nother obstacle to get over. But with the close game they had with Iowa, I think that USC is going to watch that film as well and see what Iowa did differently. But as far as UCLA doing anything, I'm interested to see if they double Juju this time, and if they do, what's going to happen with Kiki, and if they're going to do something different when Clarice comes in the game. How are they going to stop that double from Clarice and the help side that we did so well on Lauren Betts? What are they going to do? Because she doesn't want to be pulled out of the paint. Her game is around the rim. So if we can effectively, do what we did, it's a chess match, right? So I'm interested to see what Corey Close does. How does she get around Clarice and the double from the help side? And how are they going to guard you this time around?
Definitely, that's definitely the big story of the game. I'm not going to pretend to say there's any other tactical component that rivals that. No question about it. So I want to make that clear. But of course, we do want to talk about the other matchup when UCLA has the ball and USC is playing defense. And, it was lockdown city for the Trojans against UCLA. Betts was good, but not dominant. Like the two big rotation, Clarice and Rhea worked. So you would have to think if you're UCLA, if you're Corey Close, like you need one of Rice, Jones, or Jaquez to have a really big game
Yep,
to give yourself
absolutely.
a good chance. Of those three, if you're Lindsey Gottlieb and Beth Burns, which is the one you're thinking, okay, if we can, contain this supporting cast player, we have the best chance.
It's got to be Kiki Rice, because I don't think and the way Kennedy guards her, just it rattled her. And if you get her rattled, then she has a hard time running the offense, right? But I understand what you're saying about that one player, but we did a good job against London Jones too. That's a 3-point threat. We can't let her get open. But
Mhm.
I think if we contain Kiki Rice and get her rattled, and Kennedy's going to come ready because she knows she did it to her the first game, so she's going to come and she's going to want to be even better the second game. She's like, you might have scored 10 points on me or whatever Kiki Rice scored. Okay, now you're only going to score 8. You know what I mean? So, yeah, Kiki Rice, London Jones. I can't say one. I say it's got to be you got to shut London down. You can't, because if she gets hot on her 3 pointers, it's going to be hard for us. And if Kiki is able to dribble drive, it's going to be hard for us. So, got to
Yeah.
contain those two.
I reiterate that all of those UCLA role players are really important for USC to deal with. I was just kind of trying to place, hey, if you have to pick a poison or if you have to shade a little bit, hedge, whatever, which one do you want to take away a little bit more? That's what I was trying to get at. So very clear answer there. Let's just follow up. If you're Corey Close, how do you free up Kiki Rice or how do you put Kiki Rice in the best position against Kennedy Smith, who we know is an elite defender already as a freshman? So you would have to think if you're Corey Close, what kind of actions, what kind of things that maybe can get a switch, can get,
Yeah.
Kiki Rice to break free a little bit. What do you think the tactics are there in terms of UCLA trying to get Kiki Rice going?
I think you might see some Iverson screens, at the top of the key. If you get Kiki on some Iverson screens at the top of the key, just cutting across, that'll get her open enough to where she can open herself up on the wing, and then Betts will be down there posting up, ready to get that feed in. So, you might see Corey do some Iverson screens, for Kiki to get her open.
All right. Anyway, we're gonna have much more on this game later this week. We had to do some of the X's and O's. Like we didn't want to make you wait 3 full days here on our podcast. So those are some tantalizing early notes from CC Clay on the big UCLA game. All right. So now you have this podcast, you have your YouTube channel, and now CC Clay, you have a Substack. Tell everybody about your Substack, where they can find it, what you've been writing about, what you have planned. Lay it out.
Yeah, it's a Substack, and it's Let's Talk USC Women's Basketball on Substack. Go subscribe to it. I've done 3 stories. Of course, my introduction of why I started writing on Substack, and then the first story I did. What was the first story I did, Matt? I don't remember. The
What's
second
up
story
with
I
this? What's up with this
Oh yeah,
team?
what's up with this team?
See, I'm reading
Which
your work. I better read your work, or else I'm
I
in
you
big
know
trouble.
I thought that was a short story, but I thought it was really cool. I thought the headline was
What?
really cool. What's up with this? And then I did one on senior day, which was much more detailed, going over all their stats and their accolades and so on and so forth. And in the future, I'll be, especially after the season, I'll be doing a lot more stuff on previous players. Um, I'll be updating people on what's going on in the portal as much as I can find out. I'll pass along to you, and just writing for some fun stuff on Substack, um, to keep my creative juices flowing.
Anyway, as someone who has read Cece's Substack posts, just so you know, like you're not just getting 150 words, parachute in and out on the vine, just swoop in, swoop out. No, you're getting a lot of meat on the bone. You're getting details. You're getting numbers. You're getting context, perspective. It's thick. It's meaty. It's juicy. Like you're getting this inside read on USC women's basketball that you've come to expect, folks, from CC Clay. So it's well worth your time, well worth your subscription. Of course, if you can afford it, obviously not everybody can, but if you can afford it, definitely worth the investment. And I've read CC's work, and I'm supporting CC's work. So just if you haven't read it, you will not be disappointed. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
What do you have in terms of YouTube videos and anything else that you're doing covering USC right now?
Yeah, my YouTube video, as a matter of fact, went live at 6:30 tonight. So go check it out. It's a recap of the Illinois game, but it's a little bit different. I only went over stats. I didn't do any film breakdown, and the reason why was because it was senior day, and I wanted to focus on something that people have never seen before. That if you can't go to the game, I did a lot of pregame stuff. What I filmed during pregame, so people can see, and then towards the end of the video, I put in some nice photos that I take during pregame. So and in between that, I did stats. So go watch it, go like and subscribe and share, and let me know in the comments if you guys are watching my videos. Please, in the comments, let me know what you think of these videos, because I'm trying different things, to keep people, watching and loving it, and let me know what you want to see, and because it's for you guys and it's for the team. So let me know what you want to see, and I'll do my best to get you guys the stuff, the content that you want, because you guys are what's driving the content. So, but this video is really cool. I really like it. I had fun making it. I hope you guys do as well. Please let me know in the comments that you watched it and whether or not you liked it. If you didn't like it, it's all good. I can take constructive criticism. That's how you grow.
Totally. And I would just emphasize the point. We at Trojans Wire, we're partnering with CC. We're giving you podcasts, we're giving you written articles. Now CC's giving you written articles in addition to her videos, and she's going to be covering the Big Ten women's basketball tournament. She's going to fly over to Indianapolis next week.
Yep.
We're putting in a lot of work because we want to be covering this team. This team deserves it, deserves the attention, deserves the praise, deserves this love of basketball that we're all involved in here. Supporting our work, obviously, we want you to like Cece's videos and subscribe to her Substack. We want you to read Trojans Wire, the website, as well. But we want you to be giving feedback. We all need to find ways to get better, to evolve. And if there's something that we're not covering, you can say, hey, what about this? Like, we want to hear that. We want your input. We want your suggestions, because that tells us that you care, and it tells us that like you want to be part of this ride, hopefully on the road to the Final Four in Tampa. All right, so later this week, standalone episode, preview of the rematch, USC UCLA, the big one in the Big Ten. Winner gets it all. Winner gets the whole enchilada. The Big Ten regular season women's basketball championship. So we will have a standalone episode for you later this week. For CC Clay, this is Matt Zemek. You have one more thing to add.
Yeah, one more thing. I just want to give a shout out to Mila, who I met, one of my people who follows me on YouTube and X, and I was able to help her get some luau. What do you call the things?
Lay.
Go around the neck. Lays. There you go. I was able to help her get lays to the players for senior day. So I just wanted to give her her flowers. Thank you for doing that. You didn't have to do that. Thank you for reading my stuff and watching my videos. I appreciate you so much. So just wanted to give that shout out.
A great note to end on. So for CC Clay, this is Matt Zemek. See you next episode in a few days for our UCLA standalone preview. Thanks for listening to this Senior Day tribute episode of the Trojans Wired podcast.
John.